What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ. This is Out of Bounds. In today's video, we're going to be doing another NBA Prize Picks board breakdown, but we're also going to mix it up and add in a little bit of Monkey Knife Fight, MKF. And they have a similar game over on their website where you're basically choosing the over under on fantasy points as well. So very similar there. It uses the same exact scoring as PrizePicks and FanDuel. So it really translates as a 1-to-1. Now, Monkey Knife Fight, they don't offer nearly as many picks or players as PrizePicks does as far as NBA goes. So just a handful of like higher scoring guys, but we'll talk about them. We'll even compare the two sites and use them as a reference tool and see if maybe we can get an edge on PrizePicks and, maybe win some extra money over there as well. But if this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Here on Out of Bounds, we focus mainly on daily fantasy sports. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, hit the thumbs up, and share this video with the entire world as we continue to grow. We're expanding beyond PrizePicks because PrizePicks, I don't know, they don't show me any love on Twitter. They don't like what we're doing here, guys. I don't know if we're threatening to them or what, but we gotta continue to expand and increase the content here. So that's what we're gonna do. But let's go ahead and talk today's NBA slate real quick. We got some injury news to discuss. Starting at the top of the board here with Aaron Gordon. He's out with an ankle injury, out indefinitely. It's a shame for my Orlando Magic. We can't seem to catch a break. Karl Anthony Towns is doubtful due to COVID protocol. D'Angelo Russell, his teammate, is questionable with a quad contusion. SGA is doubtful with a knee injury. Christian Wood out with an ankle injury. Yusuf Nurkic out indefinitely. CJ McCollum out indefinitely. LaMarcus Aldridge out with a hip flexor. Trae Young questionable with a right calf contusion. Jamal Murray questionable with left knee soreness. Joel Embiid questionable with right knee soreness. John Wall questionable with back spasms. DeJounte Murray questionable with ankle soreness. Al Horford questionable. He might be rested on a back-to-back. I believe it's a back-to-back. Kevin Durant questionable with COVID. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. Not sure about him. Kyrie Irving is out with a finger injury. Jonas Valanciunas probable due to COVID protocol. And then we got Larry Nance questionable. Anunoby doubtful. DeAndre Hunter out. Theo Maledon doubtful. Blake Griffin doubtful. Brandon Clark questionable. Markkanen doubtful. George Hill out. Lou Dort doubtful. I'm going to end it there. But as you can see, guys, a ton of injury news. A lot of big names dealing with different injuries. Some, very serious, some minor. But you hate to see that because the NBA becomes a very watered down product without their star guys in the game. You can see there's a ton of stars in that list. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and start talking some projections. So you can see real quick here on Monkey Knife Fight, 54.5 for Giannis, 53.5 for Luka, 51.5 for Jokic, 49.5 for LeBron, 47.5 for Curry, 47.5 for Davis, 46.5 for Lillard, 46.5 for Vooch. So they have just a handful of guys, and we'll kind of like touch on them, but it's still PrizePicks. PrizePicks is going to be the number one focus, but at times we can reference Monkey Knife Fight. Let's start at the top of the board here. This game is going to be tipping off here at 1 o'clock, so we're going to skip over that. That's Portland and New York. We'll leave that one off, and we'll just move down to the next game, which is the 5 o'clock game here. Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets versus the Sacramento Kings. Jokic, he's projected for 54 over on PrizePicks, 51.5 over on Monkey Knife Fight. So you could see a big difference there already. Let's take a look at Roto Grinders real quick and see where they have Jokic. Well, they've got him somewhere in between at 53.35. So we call that 53. That would put him under on PrizePicks, and that would put him over on Monkey Knife Fight, interestingly enough. But let's look at his recent game logs and see what the Joker has been up to. His last game against the Lakers, he put up just 31 fantasy points, and he played nearly 35 minutes, so that was a major letdown. I think a lot of it had to do with his 6 for 16 shooting. Not a very efficient night for him as far as shooting the basketball. Against the Utah Jazz, 2 games back, 74.9. San Antonio Spurs, 56.5. Miami, 40.7, and Dallas 41. So in his last 5 games, guys, he's went over his PrizePicks projections of 54, a total of once, twice, and that's it. Just 2 times. 2 times out of his last 5 games, he's went over 54. But that 51.5, he's went over that 1, 2, well, just 2 times as well. So there you have it for Jokic. Let's talk minutes tonight. Jokic playing 36 minutes is his projection. Versatile big versus Sacramento. This is going to be a tough matchup on paper, but if anyone can overcome a matchup at the center spot, it's Nikola Jokic. I'm not really worried about the matchup for Joker at all here. This is 2 games in 3 nights, playing over 35 minutes a night, almost 36 minutes on average. 1.56 fantasy points per minute. Very good number there. As we've talked about in the past, there's not too many people in the league that are putting up more fantasy points per minute than Nikola Jokic. And then his usage rating, 30.14. So very high usage rating for a big man. You don't see that very often. Looking at the game total and spread here, Sacramento 112.25, Denver 115.75. So surprisingly, this is just a 3.5 point spread. This game is going to be very, very high scoring from the looks of things, and it should remain competitive and stay close throughout. So if you're thinking about Nikola Jokic, I got him at 53.35 on Roto Grinders. 54 on PrizePicks, and 51.5 over on Monkey Knife Fight. Let's talk about the other side of this game. De'Aaron Fox, he's projected for 42 on PrizePicks. Let's take a look and see where they've got the Fox on Roto Grinders. They like the under at 40.77. If we round that up to 41, that still puts him under, leaving him just short on his PrizePicks projection today. 46.7 against Boston in his last one, 57.8 against New Orleans, 44.2 against Miami. So you can see, guys, 3 games in a row where he has just been playing really, really well. So I can understand why PrizePicks has kind of jacked his projections up to 42. I think they raised him. I think he was like somewhere around 40 in recent days, but 28.4, 4 games back, and a 41.6. So in his last 5, you can see that he's went over 42 once, twice, 3 times out of his last 5 games. Now looking at the game logs here, I don't have one of him versus Denver in recent history, so let's go ahead and move on to minutes. His minutes today are projected to be 36. He is a combo guard. Denver ranks 8th in the league against combo guards, so kind of a tough matchup on paper, but Fox is talented enough to overcome that. He's not facing a back-to-back, 2 games in 3 nights, 3 games in 4 nights situation. He should be well rested and energized and ready to go. This is 32.6 minute average for the season, 1.18 fantasy points per minute. Good number there. And his usage is very, very good. One of the best in terms of point guards. 31.02. There's only a handful of guys, as you can see on today's NBA slate, who are capable of a usage rating of 31 or more. So very good to see that for Fox. Again, high scoring game. Spread should stay competitive here. I don't see, from what I'm looking at here, a blowout potential or blowout risk. So feel free to take De'Aaron Fox. If you're feeling the under, like he's suggested to go under on Roto Grinders, you can do that in a full game format and be just fine. But it's time to move ahead here and talk the next game if, the PrizePicks website would like to agree and allow us to do so. I don't know if it's just me. You guys let me know. Are you guys experiencing any problems with the PrizePicks website on the desktop like me? Maybe it's just me, but anyway, we refresh and then we move on. And we talk Chicago Bulls, Orlando Magic. Wow. They've really jacked Zach LaVine up for today's game. 45 is his projection. So let's take a look real quick at Zach LaVine over on Roto Grinders and figure out if that 45 is attainable for Zach LaVine. His projection is 44.7. So if we round that up, that is 45. So that's maybe not as crazy as it may seem. Now, the only reason I'm thinking that it's crazy is because his last few games, he's been under that 45 number. 44.8, 38.5, 33.5, 40.4, 41.7, 35. So guys, going back here, 6 games in a row, he has failed to reach 45 or more fantasy points. And his last game was against Orlando, so this is another one of those like rematch games here that they do. 44.8, he fell just shy of his projection of 45 tonight on PrizePicks. Let's close that out. Look at his minutes. They got him playing 36 tonight. He is a scoring wing. Scoring wings against the Magic. On paper, this looks like a tough matchup, but as you could tell from the last game, Levine was pretty successful, but still fell short of his projection on PrizePicks of 45. This is a back-to-back, 3 games in 4-night situation for Levine. Fatigue potential. There's potential that he's fatigued. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he's a well-conditioned athlete and he doesn't get tired like Kevin Gates. 35.5, 1.19 fantasy points per minute, and his usage is 29.72, just a little bit under that 30 mark. So good usage, good fantasy points per minute. Now looking at the game total here, Orlando 112 is the home underdog versus Chicago, projected for 113. It's just a 1-point spread, guys. This game should stay close, competitive. I do like full game picks for the major stars of this game. I also like running some first half only type stuff. If you played Nikola Vucevic last night, well, the first half and the full game both crushed. I mean, the guy had a career night in terms of scoring real life points. So we'll talk about him again here in just a minute. But yeah, not afraid of playing anybody from this game. So if you have a hunch over under, you ride that hunch. I think I probably lean toward the under on Zach LaVine just based on his last 6 games. He has failed to get to 45 or more. That's how I'm feeling about it. So next guy we're going to talk about is Nikola Vucevic. He is projected for 49 fantasy points, which is probably the, I would say, the season high for Vucevic. I don't think we've seen him at 49 at all this season. I think last night when he had his big night, he was projected at 46.5 points. Now, just to reference Monkey Knife Fight, they've got Nikola Vucevic at 46.5, which is the same projection he was at last night over on PrizePicks. So if you're playing the more or less game over on Monkey Knife Fight, 46.5 looks like a prime situation for potentially taking the more or the over in that case. But let's take a look at his projection over on Roto-Grinders real quick. Nikola Vucevic projected for 50.5 points tonight, guys. 50.5 points. Wow. Let's round it up and just call it 51. It seems insane. Now, looking at his game log from last night, it's a good one. 73.8. There's no other way to put it. But then you go back, 46.6, 43.8, 15.7, 38.8. So in his last 5 games, he's only went over 49, well, in the last one, which was against Chicago. So it's a little rich, in my opinion. I mean, does he have another 73.8 outbursts? I doubt it. Especially on a back-to-back. There's going to be a little bit of that fatigue factor. But even if we go back and just look at some of the other game logs and see how many times he's actually been able to go over 50, well, you got 52.9 here, a 52.6 there, a 67.5. So just in the game logs that we can see here, without going back too far, we got once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. 4 times in his last, I don't know, we'll call it 10 to 12 games, that he's actually been able to go over 49 fantasy points, 50 or more fantasy points. So it's a tall task, man. That seems like a really big number. I do like the over on the Monkey Knife Fight projection of 46.5, but the 49 here on PrizePicks just seems a little too rich for my blood. I'd probably go under on PrizePicks, and I'd probably go over on Monkey Knife Fight. But let's take a look and see if we can figure this out. Vucevic playing 36 minutes tonight. That's his projection. He's a versatile big who Of course, this is not a tough matchup whatsoever against the Chicago Bulls, as we witnessed last night. This is a back-to-back form, as we mentioned, 33.5 minutes per game, 1.36 fantasy points per minute, and his usage is 27.70, which is really, really good, as I mentioned before, for a big man to have a usage rating of that magnitude. So we're talking good game totals from both teams. We're talking a very good spread here in terms of the game doesn't look like a blowout. It gets a green light from me. I don't expect either team to really run away with it. We have a recent game log, recent as of last night, of Nikola Vucevic balling out. I don't think he gets 70 plus fantasy points again, but I do think he can have another good game. I just don't know if he can reach 50 or more in back-to-back games. It's going to be a tough one, guys. So that's how we're feeling about it. Let's go ahead and move along here and talk the next game. We've got the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Brooklyn Nets. And we got Joel Embiid up here at 51. I'm going to skip over him because I think he was on the injury report. I tried to not waste my time and yours talking guys that could be potentially ruled out. Ben Simmons, I think, should be okay. So let's go ahead and talk Ben real quick. He's projected at 41 on PrizePicks. Looking at his recent game logs here, they got him at, or I'm sorry, not the recent game logs yet, his projection. His projection's 40.38, which would put him under tonight. If we round that down, that's a solid 40. Now his recent game logs, 36.7, 53.7, 28.3, 50.2, and 25.8. So this weird pattern of kind of up and down and up and down and up and down and so on and so forth with Ben Simmons continues. I mean, this started, if we go back and track it here, this started around January 23rd. Now just follow along with me real quick. Big game here, bad game there. Big game here, bad game there. Big game here, bad game there. What does that mean for tonight? Does that mean we've got a big game in store for Ben Simmons? Possibly. I don't have a game log of him versus Brooklyn, so let's go ahead and talk minutes. Projected to play 35 minutes tonight. He's a pass-first point guard, and he shouldn't struggle against Brooklyn. This looks like a soft matchup on paper. Brooklyn ranking just 23rd in the league against guys like Ben Simmons. This is 3 games and 4 nights for Ben, playing nearly 33 minutes a night, 1.2 fantasy points per minute, and his usage rating is just over 21.64 to be exact. Kind of a low usage rating for a point guard, in my opinion, especially someone who's kind of like a star, one of the top 2 options on his team. You'd like to see that usage rating climb for someone like Ben Simmons, but maybe it never will. Maybe he just will never be the second coming of LeBron James, like everyone was trying to tout him to be. But anyway, let's talk game totals and spread real quick, because Philly, they are the home favorite, 120.5. versus Brooklyn, 116. We talked Kyrie Irving, probably going to be out. Kevin Durant, I think he's probably going to be out too. He came in close contact with somebody who tested positive for COVID, and his night was cut short last night. Did not get a chance to finish the game. I think with everything that's still going on with the coronavirus, that they'll probably keep Kevin Durant out, but got to stay tuned for that news. Pay attention to that, because that's some big ones, big news to monitor. Anyway, I would call this one probably a green, maybe creeping into the yellow as far as blowout potential goes. Now, what we need to do is just wait for the news, because that's going to change these lines quite a bit, these odds, these game totals and spreads and stuff like that. So if any big news comes out where guys are sitting and they won't be able to suit up tonight, well, that's probably going to shake things up quite a bit. But we do know James Harden will be playing tonight. So let's talk the beard, because, I might be fond of beards, in case you didn't notice, couldn't tell. But James Harden, he's projected for 57 tonight. Man, that brings back memories of James Harden on the Houston Rockets. We don't see him projected at 57 fantasy points very often these days, because he's sharing the court with guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Well, tonight, James Harden doesn't have to share with anyone. This is his team, especially if Kevin Durant's out. It's James Harden and, who's who. I don't know who else is on Brooklyn. Anyway, 52.59 is his fantasy projection, which would put him well under the 57 on PrizePicks. So I don't know, man. That's kind of a weird one, huh? That looks like a great spot, a huge edge and advantage for us at the moment. But let's take a look at his game logs and see what he's been up to here while I take a swig of water. 46.4 in his last one versus Toronto. Good game there. 58.4 versus the Clippers. Huge one there. He missed 3 games back against Washington, 55.5 against OKC, 69.1 against Atlanta, and then a 39.8 against Miami. So his last 4 games have been much, much better. I think he's finally getting comfortable with his role on this team and showing what he can do as a member of the Brooklyn Nets. No game logs to speak of as far as Harden versus Philly. His minutes tonight look to be very high at 38. Good, healthy minute projection there. He is a combo guard. Combo guards against the 76ers, they rank 27th against combo guards, which isn't good at all. This is an easy matchup against Philly. Not worried about that one. This is a back-to-back for Harden. 38.5 minutes per game, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So as you can see, among shooting guards, he is number 1, the highest fantasy points per minute producer. And then his usage rating is 27.90. So well over that mark of 25 that we look for kind of that elite or very good status. So I like what I'm seeing with James Harden, and I expect these fantasy points per minute numbers and usage numbers to rise without Kyrie Irving in the lineup and potentially without Kevin Durant in the lineup. So you can expect a big night for James Harden tonight. And as long as the game stays competitive, I don't mind playing James Harden in a full game format. Right now, Roto Grinders has him as a big under, though. So you have to monitor that situation. For you premium PrizePick members, you know what I do on the spreadsheet. It's no secret. I do a 6-site comparison of all of the players that we talk about on this video for the most part, and I go even further and talk even more players than we have time to talk about in the video. So for $20 a month, it's a no-brainer. It's well worth it. Pays for itself. I think more and more people are realizing what a cash cow the spreadsheet I put together is, and it just, it prints paper, prints money every night. So that's a good thing for you guys. Now, talking the next game here, we've got the Toronto Raptors taking on the Atlanta Hawks. This game tips off around 8:10 p.m. That's PrizePicks time. We'll talk Pascal Siakam. 39 is his projection in this one. So let's see if Siakam is over or under here on Roto Grinders. Siakam, they got him at 37.42. So that would put him under the 39, especially if we rounded it down to 37. Let's open up his game logs real quick. His last game was a monster against the Brooklyn Nets. He put up 67.2 points. Now against Orlando, 29. That was a major letdown there. 56.5 though in the first matchup of a back-to-back against Orlando. He crushed it, guys. 56.5 points. So he's got 2 monster games here in his last 3. But going back just a little further here for a larger sample size, 39.8 against Sacramento, and then 24.3 against Milwaukee despite playing 35 minutes. So that was a big letdown as well. So it's kind of been an up and down ride for Pascal Siakam. Not very consistent according to his recent game logs. And I don't have a game log, a matchup of him versus Atlanta from recent memory. So let's take a look at his minutes. 36 minutes tonight. He's a versatile forward. Hawks don't do a very good job against Siakam-like players, ranking just 27th. This is a back-to-back for Pascal and the Raptors. 35.7 minutes per game average, putting up 1.08 fantasy points per minute. Good number there. Not great, but good. 25.44 usage rating, so that's also very good. Now, looking at the game totals real quick, Atlanta 109 is the underdog at home versus Toronto. Toronto 113.5. So we're talking about a 4.5 point spread here. Still probably in the green for me, creeping into the yellow a little bit in terms of risk or blowout or anything like that. But I still think that, a guy like Pascal Siakam, if you take the over on him, he could potentially get it done. But just for the record, Roto Grinders does like the under on Siakam. So there you have it. And we're going to talk the other side of this game here, Atlanta Hawks. We were blessed not too long ago with some late-breaking news of Trae Young sitting out. which allowed us to take Clint Capella, John Collins, first half format over, and boy, oh boy, did it really, really pay off. Ended up having a really good day that day. I'm not sure, if we should talk Trae Young or not, but I'm going to talk Clint Capella instead. We'll skip over Trae. We don't want to get, last minute news again that Trae Young's not going to suit up. So let's talk Clint Capella. He should be fine. He doesn't have any type of injury designation heading into this game. So Clint Capella's projection is 41.13, which catches my attention. That puts him well over 39, right? So that would be an over for Capella. I mentioned his last game against Utah. No Trae Young in that one. 26.9 fantasy points. Most of those fantasy points, most of that damage was done in the first half. He pulled down 17 rebounds. Now, what happened in the second half to Clint Capella? Only God knows. I mean, his field goal percentage here, 3 for 14. I think a lot of the Hawks really struggled to generate offense. John Collins, I know in the first half was missing a ton of shots as we were sitting there sweating. The over on John Collins first half only. But going back in his other recent games, 40.6 against Dallas for Capella, 43.1, 42.3, and a 28.2. So in his last 5 here, I mean, I'll even include this 6th one. He's went over his projection tonight once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. 4 times he's went over 39 in his last 6 games. So I like what I'm seeing from Capella there. Against Toronto, his former team, no recent game logs, but keep that in mind that wait a second, he wasn't a Raptor. No, Clint Capella was a Rocket. What am I talking about? He never played for the Raptors. That's not his former team. I'm wrong. I got it though. I caught it. He's a post-up big who's expected to play 31 minutes tonight. This matchup against Toronto is not an easy one on paper. They rank sixth in the league against post-up bigs. 3 games and 4 nights for Capella, 29.7 minutes per game, so almost at that 30-minute per game mark. Puts up very good fantasy point per minute averages of 1.35, and his usage rating, not very high, but that's the type of player Clint Capella is. He's not going to be a high usage guy at just 18.7 usage rating. So there you have it on Capella. They like the over, and based on his recent games, guys, I kind of like the over too, with or without Trae Young, but, even more so if Trae plays like he's expected to. The other guy we're going to talk about here is Fred VanVleet. Freddie VanVleet, projected at 41. Yeah, I know we talked Siakam already, but I'm going to give you an extra one today. It's a little shorter slate, so let's try to pack in one extra name here for you. Fred VanVleet, he's projected at 39.66, so that would still be under, even if we rounded it up to 40. If we open up his game logs real quick, his last game, 32.8, of course, came on the heels of his monster career high scoring game. Not only was it a career high for him, but it was also a franchise high scoring output, setting the single game record for most points scored, breaking DeMar DeRozan's record. So pretty impressive stuff. Then 17.9 in the game before that. So he's got a couple of bad ones with that big 77.6 sandwiched in between. But if we go back 4 games, 52 and a 50 there. Let's just keep riding it out. 47.8, 42. So you can see like his last few games have been up and down, but over the course of his last 6 or 7 games, they've been mostly good. So moving ahead, 36 minutes is his projected total tonight. He's a combo guard. This Hawks team ranks dead last in the league against combo guards. There's some upside potential here for Fred VanVleet in this one. This is a back-to-back. He's playing over 36 minutes a night, averaging 1.12 fantasy points per minute, and his usage is 24.44. So good usage, good fantasy points per minute. We know Fred VanVleet is a scorer. Probably, I would call him the primary scoring option on this Raptors team. Him and probably Pascal Siakam are the 1-2 punch as far as putting the ball in the bucket. But there you go for Fred VanVleet. Now let's move ahead and talk the next game here as PrizePicks website continues to freeze on me. There we go. It finally cleared up. Sorry for the technical difficulties. PrizePicks is being uncooperative at the moment. We appreciate your patience. The next guy we're going to talk about is Giannis Antetokounmpo. They've got him at 55 over on PrizePicks, and over on Monkey Knife Fight, they've got him at 54.5. So just a half point difference. As I mentioned, these two sites, they score exactly the same, which is, using kind of like the FanDuel scoring system. So interesting to see that Monkey Knife Fight has him at 54.5, and he's at 55 on PrizePicks, so just a half point difference there. Now let's take a look at Roto Grinders and see where they land on Giannis. They got him at 52.38, so that would put him under on both sites, both MKF and PrizePicks. And I know some of you guys, you saw the sheet last night, and every site out there, we use 6 different sites, guys. So this is a pretty large sample size. I believe every single site out there had Giannis Antetokounmpo going under his fantasy points projection last night. And many of you took it, and he went over. And I'm sorry for that, but there is always risk when taking a star like Giannis Antetokounmpo under in a full game format. It's a move that you might want to refrain from making too often. But his last one against Cleveland, 65.4. He will be facing Cleveland again tonight, as we mentioned. 57.8 against Indiana, 33.8 against Portland, 69.1 against Charlotte, and a 66.7 against New Orleans. We'll even go back one further. There's another 60 burger for you against Toronto. So tonight's game, he is projected to play 34 minutes. He's a versatile forward, and we've already mentioned this is not a tough matchup for Giannis. Really, is there a tough matchup in the NBA for Giannis on any given night? Probably not. He's a guy who's matchup proof, in my opinion, a guy who can overcome any type of adversity or matchup, so I'm not really worried about matchups with him. Back-to-back, though, 3 games in 4 nights. Could fatigue play a factor? We'll find out. Playing just under 33 minutes per night. Now, his fantasy points per minute, 1.60. That's just out of this world. Insane fantasy points per minute number there. So that's where that risk comes in, playing an under on Giannis Antetokounmpo, because if the game doesn't blow out like it's projected to blow out, and this guy stays out on the floor for 30 plus minutes, he's going to crush you every night, every time. His usage rating, 34. Another thing that makes me just really, really cautious when playing a monster like Giannis, the Greek Freak. But tonight, we got to talk game total and spread and see if we've got another blowout in store or not. Cleveland, 109. Big time underdog versus Milwaukee, 119.5. So you're talking, again, I think for the second night now, a 10.5 point spread. Milwaukee, big time favorite. Those of you who played Giannis Antetokounmpo under in full game formats, don't do it again. I know you got burned by it. Don't be tempted to go back to it, even if all the projection sites think that he's going to go under. You probably just want to fade this situation. If you're going to play Giannis, here's what I would probably do. My advice would be Giannis Antetokounmpo over first half formats only. If you really want to play him, if you really want to click on his name, that's how I would approach him. So, again, 52.38. We rounded down to 52. That put him under on PrizePicks, under on Monkey Knife Fight. But I would avoid it, man. I would avoid it if you can. On the next game, the other side, well, not next game, but same game, the other side of the game, we've got Andre Drummond, we've got Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, and we've got PrizePicks just continuing to not cooperate. So let's refresh the page here while we wait. Boo, 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 boo. I'm gonna try and refresh here. I mean, they must be doing something on their end. I don't know what's going on. Okay. We got Andre Drummond highlighted, so that's good enough for me. Let's go ahead and talk Andre Drummond because this is just going off the rails. His projection on Roto Grinders is 43.29, which puts him over his projection on PrizePicks. Hopefully by the time we're done talking Andre Drummond, their website will be working. 39.8 in his last one against Milwaukee. which again was just last night. He played nearly 30 minutes in that one. That would put him under, though, still put him under on tonight's projection. The game before that against the Clippers, 19, 3 games back against Minnesota was a blank for him. 60.4 against Minnesota, huge game there. Going back 4 games ago, New York Knicks, 35. And then another monster game here, 62.2. Andre Drummond can put up fantasy points in a hurry. Well, let's talk his minutes tonight. They got him playing 27 minutes, so that's a slight under on his minutes from last night. That's what I'm trying to say. He's a post-up big. Post-up bigs against Milwaukee typically do well. Back-to-back situation, 3 games in 4 nights, playing just under 30 minutes a night. 1.51 fantasy points per minute. One of the best fantasy points per minute producers in the entire league. His usage for a center is also off the charts, 30.58. You love to see the usage there. But again, red zone, red alert. This is a blowout potential all over this one. So be very careful with Andre Drummond. Another situation, if you really want to click his name, if you really want to play some Andre Drummond tonight, do it in the first half and probably lean toward taking the over in this case, because I don't know that this one goes the distance and stays competitive for very long. Oh my gosh, we're back. Look at that. Our prayers have been answered by the PrizePicks gods and overlords. We finally get to talk the next game, which is the San Antonio Spurs versus the Houston Rockets. This game tips off at 8:10 p.m. over on PrizePicks. Oh, who do we want to talk about tonight? Let's talk DeMar DeRozan first, and then I think I'm going to go Boogie, because that 44 is just jumping off. That reminds me of the old Boogie Cousins, the Sacramento Boogie Cousins, the New Orleans Pelicans Boogie. But before we get to him, we got to talk DeMar DeRozan. The swingman for the San Antonio Spurs is projected for 35.21 points over on Roto Grinders, which would put him over or under big under versus his PrizePicks projection. Now, he's had some inconsistencies lately, guys. His last game was a good one against Minnesota, 46.6. But then you look back here at some of these other games, 30 against Memphis, 6.7 against Memphis. My goodness, I almost outscored him that night. 45.2 against Denver, and then 34.5 versus Boston. So he's been hard to trust, especially if you're clicking the over. It's been a rough ride for Mr. DeMar DeRozan. Now, against Houston, he does have a couple game logs that we can reference if we go all the way back. January 14th and the 16th. The 14th, 35.7 fantasy points. And then on the 16th, 44.4 fantasy points. So there you can see that he is capable of going over his projection of 38 tonight, doing so in 1 out of 2 previous meetings with Houston, but not really doing so a ton in his last 5 games. Only going over tonight's projection just twice. Let's move ahead and talk minutes. He's projected for 34 tonight. Scoring wings against Houston, not a difficult matchup. Now, DeRozan will be nice and well rested. This is not a back-to-back, 2 games in 3 nights, 3 games in 4 nights type of thing. Playing over 33 minutes per night on average at 33.6. His fantasy points per minute, 1.13. And his usage, 24.47. Not too shabby for DeMar DeRozan. Looking at the game total and spread here, Houston, 111.75. They are a 1-point underdog versus San Antonio, the visiting team. So there's a 1-point spread here, and I like the totals, and I like the fact that this game should stay close and competitive. I could see this one turning into a very guard-heavy type of game. They've got those types of players on both sides. You got the DeJounte Murrays, you got the Johnsons, the DeMar DeRozans on one side, and then you got like the I don't know if he's playing John Walls and the Victor Oladipos and the Eric Gordons on the other side. This could be a very guard-heavy type of game, especially with no Christian Wood. And that's probably part of the reason why DeMarcus Cousins' projection is so jacked up tonight. Which brings me to DeMarcus Boogie Cousins, who's projected for 44 fantasy points. Big number for a guy that was, at one point in time, I would say one of the best, if not the very best big man in the entire league. Now, DeMarcus Cousins' projection on Roto Grinders tonight, 42.36. So if we round that down, that would put him under. Even if we rounded it up, it would put him under. So let's look at his game logs and see what we can expect. His last game, not good in terms of total fantasy point output. He finished with just 15.7, but if you look at the minutes, his minutes were only 15.5. So that actually puts him over 1 fantasy point per minute. Not bad there. Last game before that, 22.5, 34.1, 8.6, and 17.3. So his minutes have been kind of all over the place, anywhere from 11 to 20 to even as high as 25. So his minutes jumping up and down. But when he does get minutes, guys, Boogie is a fantasy point producer. And I think tonight, with no Christian Wood in the lineup, Boogie will get minutes. When he gets minutes, 33 minutes, 51 fantasy points. 29.8 minutes, 51.9 fantasy points. So he's got the potential to get up there around that 40, 50 type of performance when he gets playing time. Now, against San Antonio here, we only have one game log to look at, and back then he played just 18.4 minutes and ended up with 16.8 fantasy points. So there you have it for Boogie. Now let's look at his minutes tonight and see where they project him to play. 30 minutes tonight is his projected total. He's versatile bigs versus San Antonio. They eat. If San Antonio ranks just 29th against versatile bigs such as Cousins, 3 games in 4 nights, playing just over 18 minutes per night on average, 1.32 fantasy points per minute. That's actually pretty darn good for a guy who doesn't see the floor so much. Maybe they need to put him out there more often. 25.41 is his usage rating. So good number there. So the game's going to be high scoring. It's going to stay close. And DeMarcus Cousins is going to have increased minutes and an increased role with no Christian Wood. I like it. I don't mind taking DeMarcus Cousins here. I'd probably lean toward the over. I know Roto Grinder says under. I'll dig in deeper for all you premium members out there, as I always do, and we'll talk DeMarcus Cousins more in depth later on this evening. But let's move ahead here. We got a few more names to talk about here. The first being D'Angelo Russell. He's projected for 35 tonight. 35 for D'Lo, kind of a guy who's been hard to trust in recent games. His projection over on Roto Grinders is 35.29, so the 35 on one, the 35 on the other, it kind of seems to be the sweet spot for him. His last game, 32.8 against OKC. He's taking on OKC again tonight, so kind of have an idea of what he did in his last one versus them. 38.9 against San Antonio, 29.4 against Cleveland, 25.7 against Cleveland, and 21 in that matchup against Philly. So it's been ugly, man. The game logs, there's a lot of game logs under 30, some even under 20 in there. So I'm not a big fan of taking D'Angelo Russell overs here lately, but he's projected to play 31 minutes tonight as a combo guard. This is a back-to-back 3 games in 4 night situation. Playing over 30 minutes a night, averaging 1.1 fantasy points per minute, and his usage is over 30 at 30.44. So that's at least something to hang your hat on. Not bad. Now looking at the game totals and spread, OKC is a 1-point favorite at home, 110.25. Minnesota, 109.25. So game should stay close. Not the highest in terms of projected team totals here, but not bad either. You know, you could be worse. Could be, Milwaukee, Cleveland bad, but it's not that bad. But anyway, the game should stay close, should stay competitive. More often than not, I'm probably leaning under on D'Angelo Russell, just, off the top of my head without any type of deep dive research here. The under has been kind of the way that I feel about Russell most nights. Now, moving ahead, this OKC team is quite ugly, especially without SGA in there. So we're going to talk Big Al Horford, the veteran big man here for OKC, is projected to play 34 tonight. Now, he was on the injury report as being, I think he was questionable, but we'll talk about him anyway. I think he'll probably end up playing, but who knows at this point, right? Let's find him. I think he might be a center. Yep. He is questionable. He's a center. Centers against, his projection tonight is 36.03. My goodness, get it together. I think this hat's cutting off the circulation of my brain. That would be an over on his projection tonight if he does suit up for OKC. Opening up his game logs, you could see what he did last night. Yeah, last night against Minnesota, 59.4 fantasy points. Huge number there. 27.7 against Houston, 32.9 against Houston, 38.2 against Brooklyn, and then another big game here, 49.2. So without SGA in the lineup, guys like Al Horford, like Basley, they're going to have to step up. They're also Dort. He's another guy who is going to be out. What a name, huh? Dort. Hey, my name's Dort. Anyway, I like Al Horford tonight. It looks like a situation where going over on him is going to be a good one. And that seems to be the case with Roto-Grinders. They seem to agree with Al Horford over as well. So if he plays, I'm probably taking the over with Roto-Grinders. But let's move ahead and talk the next guy. We got Steph Curry, who's projected at 46 fantasy points. Now, over on Monkey Knife Fight, again, who uses the same scoring system, they've got him at 47.5. So they've got him slightly higher than PrizePicks. So 1.5 points higher than PrizePicks. Let's take a look at Roto-Grinders and see where they land on Steph Curry. Well, they got him at 44.49. So we're going to round that down. We're going to call it 44. So the 44 would be an under, and it would be an under on Monkey Knife Fight as well. So they like the under on both sites. Now, in his last game, 38.6 against Dallas, 69.2 against Boston, 45.5 versus Detroit, 33.8 versus Phoenix, and a 33.2 versus Minnesota. So he's got 3 games out of his last 5 where he's failed to go over 40 points. So I can kind of understand and see why Roto-Grinders likes the under against PrizePicks and the under against Monkey Knife Fight on his projections tonight. Now, he is facing Dallas. If we go back and look at his last game against Dallas, which was just 2 nights ago, he just managed 38.6, so not a very good game there against Dallas. I think he looks to bounce back tonight, but we'll see what happens. His minutes tonight, 34 minutes, combo guard. Dallas does rank number 1 against combo guards, so maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe it's not just a tough on paper sort of thing. Maybe they're actually tough in real life too. 2 games and 3 nights for Curry, 33.6 minutes per game, 1.33 fantasy points per minute, and his usage rating is 32.73, one of the best usage ratings you're going to find in the entire NBA. Now, looking at the game total and spread for this game, Dallas 117.75 is a 4-point favorite, which puts this in a green category for me. I think once it starts to get like 5 or more, on the spread, then I start to get worried, but I'm not too worried. Not so worried about a 4-point spread here. I think this is a green light situation. Total's very high for both teams. One of the highest scoring games on the slate. So there you have it. Roto-Grinders under on the PrizePicks projection of 46 and under on the Monkey Knife Fight projection of 47.5. Moving ahead, we're going to talk Luka Doncic. Boy, this PrizePicks website, man. I don't know what is happening. It can't be me. Can't be me, can it? Can it be me? Maybe it's me. I don't know. Anyway, PrizePicks, they've got Luka at 55. Monkey Knife Fight, they've got Luka at 53.5. So Monkey Knife Fight under the projections for PrizePicks by 1.5 points. Let's see where Roto-Grinders lands. Roto-Grinders, 52.07. We're going to round that down and call it 52. So the 52 would be under on PrizePicks, and it would be good enough for an under on Monkey Knife Fight as well. Opening up the game logs for Luka. Well, there's some validity to being under on Luka Doncic, because if you look at his string of recent games, he's only went over tonight's projection on PrizePicks 1 time, and that was against Atlanta back on February 3rd. Otherwise, this projection of 55, he hadn't hit it in, 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games. 5 out of his last 6 games, he has failed to come close to 55. 82.2 outburst here, 44. I mean, so like, man, 55 has been tough for him to reach in his like last dozen games or so. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm a little concerned with taking the over on Luka Doncic at 55. Like, you know what he's capable of. Super talented kid. He has the all the ceiling in the world to just explode on any given night, but in his last few, or several games, I mean, he just hasn't gotten there, guys. So 35 minutes tonight is a combo guard. Golden State, 15th in the league against combo guards. This is 3 games and 4 nights for Luka. He's playing nearly 35 minutes a night, putting up a super impressive 1.53 fantasy points per minute. And his usage rating is 35.97, just a hair under 36. I think the only person that tops a usage rating of 36 is probably Bradley Beal. But this is elite usage and fantasy points per minute. So, high scoring game. Looks like it's going to stay close for the most part. Luka didn't have the greatest performance. Neither did Steph Curry. I kind of think that these guys are going to find a way to bounce back. But as of right now, the under, based on RotoGrinders projections, is the way to go on Monkey Knife Fight and on PrizePicks. So there you have it. You see what happens here? Look, I hover over this guy. It should be a little clicky hand. The clicky hand's not there, which means their website is continuing to screw up. So I'm not even going to worry about clicking on anybody's name. Yep, there you go. Page unresponsive. Gosh. What the heck? NBA second half? I don't know what's going on. We're working through it, though. We're working through it. We're almost done, guys. I'm wrapping it up right now. We're going to hit 1 Grizzly player and 1 Pelican player, and we're going to put a bow on this chaotic video with all these little glitches we've been having. Ja Morant, 38. I love clicking the under on Ja Morant lately because as I posed the question out there to the Discord channel, by the way, if you're not in the Discord, link in the description of this video, is Ja Morant overrated? Well, he might be, or he might just be like dealing with some sort of injury, slow to get back to full speed. But look at the projection on RotoGrinders. 31.56, guys. Even if we round it up and give him 32, that puts him 6 points under his PrizePicks projection of 38. I think the lines makers at PrizePicks are way off on this kid. Look what he's been doing in his last few games. 28.6 against Houston, 23.7, 30.6, 32.9, 40.6, and 26. So in his last 6 games, guys, he's got 1 game of 40.6, 1 game of going over today's projection. I really like the under on Ja Morant. He hasn't shown me that he is a consistent 38 or more fantasy points per game type of player. So until you prove it to me, I'm going to keep taking the under on you, buddy. And that's just the way it is. But his minutes tonight, 30 are his projected minutes. He is a combo guard. This is a tough matchup. New Orleans ranking 14th against combo guards like Morant. 2 games and 3 nights. He's playing just 28 minutes a night, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. So that's not a bad number. And neither is his usage, 31.29. So maybe the biggest thing holding him back from becoming great is the amount of minutes that they're playing him. 28, 28, 21, 27, 34, 30. So in his last 4 games, he has failed to reach 30 minutes. They've got him projected to play, 30 minutes tonight. So I don't know if he gets there, man. But looking at the game total and spread here, boop. And by the way, I guess the Lakers and Pistons game isn't on the PrizePicks board yet. But New Orleans Pelicans, 113.75. They are the home favorite by 1.5 points against Memphis. This game looking like another one of these run and gun, high scoring, could be a shootout type of games. Not worried about a blowout here. Give it the green light, go. Feel free to take anybody in a full game format that you wish. I just would not take the over on Ja Morant until he proves otherwise. Moving on to the very last guy, Zion Williamson. 38 is his fantasy score. Heading over to Roto Grinders, they like Zion Williamson to go for 39.74. I think last night, guys, Zion was projected to go, what was it? Was he an over or under? Anyway, I don't know. It didn't work out. Whatever it was, he did the opposite of it. I can't remember. My brain's frazzled at this point. In his last few games, 36.3. I think he was projected to go over and he went under. That's maybe what it was, because that 36.3 sounds a little low. I think he was projected for 39 yesterday. 48.4 against Phoenix, 40.6 against Sacramento, 39.4 against Houston, and 46.3 against Milwaukee. So you can see why most sites liked the over on Zion Williamson and the 39-point projection last night, because he had been going over 39 for 6 games in a row. And then he finally just came up short against Indiana. Kind of a bad shooting night, 6 for 12, not terrible. 50% is not terrible, but you can see that normally he is an over 50% shooter on the season, I would say. So moving ahead here and talking minutes for Zion, 34 minutes tonight. He is a versatile forward. Versatile forwards against Memphis have struggled. Memphis ranking 4th in the league against versatile forwards. This is a back-to-back situation for Zion. 3 games of 4 nights, playing nearly 33 minutes per game, 1.19 fantasy points per minute, and his usage is over 27 at 27.06. So does Zion Williamson get back on track tonight? I know I posed that question yesterday. That was my pinned comment of yesterday's video. Can Zion Williamson do it again? It would have been his 7th game in a row going over 39 fantasy points. Well, they've got him over again here at 39.74, guys. So that seems good. They actually dropped his projection by 1 point versus last night. Last night he was 39. Now he's 38. So I don't know. I think I'm going back to the well here and clicking the over on Zion and hoping that he can find a way to bounce back in this one. But you guys let me know what you're doing on Zion Williamson or any of the other players that I talked about in today's video. Are you taking the over or the under? Drop a comment below. Shoot me a message in Discord. Whatever you want to do. I'd like to hear your picks, your thoughts, and why you're making the plays that you are. That's going to do it for today. Sorry the video is so doggone long. Man, I can't believe it. It's almost an hour-long video. I never do an hour-long video. I apologize. Hit the 1.5x playback speed. It goes by so much quicker. I'm sorry it's so long. But until the next one, guys, this is CJ for Out of Bounds. We'll catch you then. Peace out.